Holy cow, did you get a haircut?
Yeah, I got a haircut. Hi, welcome to Moving Iron Podcast. After Bell, Chip Nellinger. Um, Today we are going to hit on the cattle on feed report that's up, and then we're going to talk about some trade war stuff that we see out there. So, Chip, what's up, buddy?
Hey, not much. Crazy day today.
It is. So, how's the market reacted to a couple different things? So, you have the cold storage report that came out yesterday, and then you have the cattle on feed report that came out probably 15 minutes ago or so.
Yep.
How are those
Uh,
affecting the
so,
market?
yeah, cold storage probably a little bit negative on the pork side. We've known for a while that we've kind of been really, this is probably about the third year in a row of expansion of pork facilities domestically. So pork supplies up 6% from the previous month, 8% from a year ago. Belly supplies up 6% from last month, up 188% from last year. So that was probably a little bit negative to start. And then you throw in the fact that China retaliated and U.S. pork was on the initial list of what they're going to retaliate with. And you had a total washout in hogs today, closing near limit down, several month lows. There may be more to come. The beef side, not much on the cold storage. So beef stocks down 8% compared to a month ago, 8% compared to a year ago. I think that was pretty well expected. Cattle on feed this afternoon here, just about 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, was probably not a huge deal, 108.8% on feed, just a touch higher than the average. 108.2 was expected. The place, though, was a pretty big number, 107.3. The average estimate is 104.2, and then the marketed was pretty well in line, 101.6 versus 101.2 expected. Even though the placement number or the on-feed number was about expected, that's still 8.8% higher than a year ago. So, again, we're growing the herd. We know that. You've had a big washout in cattle this week. They closed pretty ugly today. Down 220 into April, down a buck 20, buck and a quarter in the May feeders. So pretty ugly there. And even though beef wasn't on the list of tariffs so far, the pork issue really is going to spill over. You know, if we back pork up here, if they don't take U.S. pork, we back pork up here. It lowers the price domestically. That competes against beef. So it's kind of an add-on effect there. So pretty ugly week, really, for the livestock sector, closing pretty much on the lows for the week and multi-week, if not multi-month lows in the hogs. So it's hard to spin it anything but pretty ugly in hogs and cattle this week.
Yeah.
Little bit better in the grains. Grains fared a little bit better. We woke up this morning. We had a little rally in the overnight last night. You come in this morning, the market's just getting hammered, 15, 20 lower in beans. Still this trade war fear, especially in the case of beans. But beans weren't on the initial list. There may be more to come. And we had a big reversal. It was kind of led by the wheat market. Wheat ended up, 14, 15 cents off the lows in higher ground today. It drug corn off the lows as well. Corn ended up about a penny higher and almost 8 cents off the lows. So that's a good move there. Reason being, they took rain out of the forecast for the dry areas of Kansas and Oklahoma. Beans had a pretty choppy day. They still closed lower, but I don't know, 16, 17 cents off the lows. Way, way better than the worst case scenario looked this morning. But the market's going to stay really nervous and choppy for the next several weeks because of uncertainty with this trade war issue.
Right on. Okay.
So I just was reading all about all the things going on with the trade war issue, and I read a report last night by a state pork association that said that China only actually imports 2% of their pork from the U.S., and this report claimed that China produces most of their pork that they eat domestically. is that true information, or exactly how does that play out? Because it kind of, at first when I read that, I had the same reaction, like, oh my gosh, the pork market's already bad, and this is not going to do it any favors, obviously. But then I read this story from a pork association, and I just didn't know exactly how accurate that information was.
I don't know the actual number. So there's a couple things at work there. Number one, you just got the first initial knee-jerk, hey, the pork was on the list, they're going to hammer the market. I don't know about the 2%, but it wouldn't surprise me. That 2% still could be a big number, though, because they have something like, and it's kind of an unknown. They don't even know the exact number, but something like 400 million hogs in China. So it may be, in fact, that they import a small percentage of their total usage, but their total pork usage domestically in China is just massive. So that 2% still could be a very big number. So I don't know the exacts of that, but it's still a big deal. The thing is, when you close that market off, it just creates havoc in the market. The other thing is that's kind of an interesting dynamic here is Smithfield is owned by a Chinese company. And so, China's putting tariffs on U.S. pork at the same time, which is going to hurt Smithfield here domestically. So there's a lot of give and take to this and a lot of uncertainty. And I'm sure we haven't heard the last of the give and take and the negotiations on this. It's just the first opening round, I guess, if you want to call it that. And there's more to come, I'm sure, and lots more uncertainty to hit the market about all of this.
Right on. Good. All right, Chip, but anything else you want to throw out there before we shut it down?
Well, next week you've got an important week. So Thursday is the quarterly stocks report for grains. We also have the prospective plantings report. So that'll be very, very big in the market's mind. And also weather is still part of this. If they're going to miss rain and stay dry in the plains, that's going to continue to hurt yield potential. Also, it's drying up in the forecast for beans in Argentina. And there's several private estimates now that are under 40 million tons. So that's still another potentially 8 to 10 million tons that the USDA would have to cut Argentine bean yield. So weather and production is still very much a part of this. It's just taking a little bit of a back seat with all this trade negotiations. And I think today is a good example. Beans 20 lower at one point. Here before the close, they were up higher on the day. I think you're going to see more and more of that here the next 90 days based on production, weather, trade war uncertainty. You're all going to throw that in the mix, and it's going to be a wild ride, I think.
Okay. Well, Chip, if they want to get a hold of you, how can they find you?
Best way is just call our office here directly, 309-550-7213. And I'd love to talk to you and chat with you guys.
All right, sounds good. All right, so remember you can find Moving Iron Podcast at iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, and SoundCloud. You can also check out our YouTube channel, Moving Iron Podcast, Moving Iron Podcast YouTube channel, and that's about where you can find me at. So, Gina, where can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, Regina Nargis.
All right. Well, thanks, Chip, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, have a good weekend.
All right, you too.